Welcome to the Immortal India Podcast with me, Amish Tripathi. I'm sure that most of you would have seen the brilliant movie Chhava recently. My wife and I, we saw it together, and there wasn't a dry eye in the theatre at the end as we saw the supreme sacrifice by Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj and the brutal torture he was subjected to. But the question that arises is that what happened after that? Some have claimed that the Timurid-Mughal tyrant Aurangzeb won at the end. Not true, for eventually Aurangzeb did lose and the Marathas did win. A lot of the Mughal Maratha story was still left after the ending of Chhava. So what happened after the last scene that we all saw in Chhava? Let's find out. In 1689, the Maratha spirit was struck by an act of unspeakable cruelty. Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj, the valiant son of the legendary Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, was brutally tortured and executed at the merciless hands of Aurangzeb, the Timurid-Mughal Emperor. Aurangzeb thought that this cruelty would scare the Marathas into submission, but his plan backfired. Do you remember the movie Braveheart? The fictional take on a historical Scottish hero, William Wallace? King Edward of England, the then King Edward of England, had tortured and killed William Wallace, thinking it would subdue the Scots. Well, it didn't work. William Wallace's supreme courage united the divided Scots to fight their English oppressors. Similarly, Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj's peerless valor at the end united the Marathas, whose earlier internal divisions had weakened them. They were united with one singular purpose: to seek vengeance against the Timurid-Mughals and restore honor to their beloved motherland. But for all their rage and anger, the Marathas were also very smart warriors. They were fighting the most powerful empire in the world at that time, the Timurid-Mughals, who had near absolute control over the richest areas in the world during that period. That is, the plains of the Ganga, or more specifically, today's UP, Bihar, Jharkhand and Bengal. Many of you may be interested in knowing that in that period, this region contributed almost 10-15% of the world's GDP. Anyway, money looted from hapless residents of these regions funded the massive Mughal armies and also their opulent palaces. How could the small Maratha kingdom, with much fewer soldiers and money, take on a so much more powerful enemy? By fighting with the heart but also the brain. This was a long war fought over decades, defined by courage, strategy, smart, intelligent tactics, and the sheer will to defy an adversary who believed himself invincible. Our story today is divided into two remarkable phases. First, the era of Chhatrapati Rajaram Maharaj, Sambhaji Maharaj's younger brother, who continued the brave rebellion against the Timurids, guiding the Marathas to survive the onslaught and then hitting back at the right time. And the second, the era of Queen Tarabai, whose resolute command steered the rebellion through its darkest days till the time that Aurangzeb had been worn down to near bankruptcy. Following the martyrdom of Sambhaji Maharaj, the reins of Maratha resistance were swiftly taken up by his brave younger brother Chhatrapati Rajaram Maharaj. The loss of their revered leader could have shattered the Maratha spirit, but Rajaram Maharaj's emergence as a leader galvanized them. With a burning desire for vengeance and also an understanding of strategic realities, Rajaram retreated deeper into the rugged terrains of the Deccan, choosing fortresses that would serve as bastions of resistance against the overwhelming Mughal forces. Chhatrapati Rajaram left Raigad and ultimately moved to Gingee, which is in modern Tamil Nadu, south of Chennai, that far south, forcing the Mughals to pursue him all the way there. To keep up the Timurid-Mughal momentum and to block the Maratha army's routes to Gingee, Aurangzeb camped near Bijapur between 1690 and 1692. However, his decision backfired on him as it spread out his forces, which was perhaps exactly what the Marathas wanted, and the Marathas intensified their resistance. The Maratha counter-offensive began soon when they defeated Rustam Khan Sarza near Satara in May 1690. Following this, Santaji Ghorpade launched a series of open field battles, systematically crushing Mughal generals one after another. Two of his most significant victories were the killing of Qasim Khan at Doderi on 20th November 1695 and the slaying of Himmat Khan at Basavapatan on 20th January 1696. These victories instilled great fear in the hearts of the Mughal commanders. Rajaram Maharaj's strategy was as much about survival as it was about defiance. In a landscape dominated by vast armies and heavy artillery, the Marathas under Rajaram Maharaj adapted by embracing mobility and cunning. But just as the Maratha resistance seemed to be gathering strength, tragedy struck once again. Rajaram Maharaj died in 1700. Some historians say it could have been due to lung disease. Aurangzeb had lived through the reigns of three Maratha Chhatrapatis, the legendary Shivaji, then Sambhaji and Rajaram. Fate seemed to be favoring Aurangzeb. He must have thought that he would finally snuff out the Maratha rebellion. But then a Maratha woman rose to fight the Timurid-Mughal barbarian, Queen Tarabai. Following the demise of Chhatrapati Rajaram, the Maratha resistance faced grave peril once again. Queen Tarabai emerged as the regent of the empire, leading the armies and people in the name of her minor son. Her leadership transcended the traditional roles assigned to women of her time, particularly among the patriarchal Timurid-Mughal and European nobility of that era. Under her command, the Maratha armies embarked on a series of daring campaigns against the Mughal forces. Queen Tarabai's approach was characterized by both calculated risk and guile. The broader aim was to wear down the financial and military abilities of the Timurid-Mughals to prosecute the war. Under the leadership of Queen Tarabai, the Marathas adopted another crucial war strategy. Whenever Aurangzeb or his generals marched out to capture Maratha forts, the Marathas defended them until their supplies were almost exhausted. Once they realized that they were out of food and weapon supplies, they strategically surrendered the forts to the Mughals, either through open surrender or by pretending to lose. Then the Mughals would take possession of the forts and obviously fill them up with weapons and food to support their large armies. Once the forts were full with supplies, the Marathas would recapture these forts very quickly since they knew all the secret entrances, etc. This would happen usually within a very short period, sometimes even overnight. Basically, the Marathas were using Timurid-Mughal money to supply their own armies through this cunning tactic. Shate shatyam samacharet, as had been said in the Mahabharata. Dusht ke saath dushtata hi karni chahiye. During this turbulent phase of relentless war spread over decades, the Mughal coffers were drained and their armies overstretched. Mughal officials remained unpaid for years, sometimes as long as 4 years. This led to extreme situations where officials would attack their superiors, publicly disgrace them, or even resort to murder. Aurangzeb, who had been based in the Deccan also for decades, was powerless to address these issues due to the lack of funds. The Jagir system, which is basically the land grant system, also collapsed as the Marathas prevented the complete Mughal control of the Deccan. This resulted in large tracts of contested territory, land that was neither fully under Mughal control nor completely under Maratha rule. At one point, Aurangzeb explicitly stated that no more nobles should be brought before him for mansabs. Mansabs were basically official Mughal ranks. No noble should be brought before him for mansabs because granting them would require land allocations and there was no territory left to distribute. An empire or army cannot run if it doesn't have funds. Look at the British Empire after the Second World War. The Marathas were the biggest cause for wearing down the once powerful Timurid-Mughal Empire. But there were other rebellions too, all across India, as many indigenous people revolted against Aurangzeb's crimes and oppression. In the fertile Ganga plains, under the charismatic leadership of King Gokul Dev, the Jats rose in rebellion, challenging heavy-handed policies and asserting their right to self-governance. Around 1688, the Jats launched an attack on Agra itself and killed many Timurid-Mughals. Remember, this was when Aurangzeb was still the emperor. He was in the Deccan then, but he was still the emperor. And the Agra-Delhi region was the heart of the Timurid-Mughal Empire. It's like Indians attacking London when Queen Victoria still ruled the British Empire. It was like insane. This Jat attack on Agra is recorded in two historical sources, the Futuhat-i-Alamgiri by Ishwar Das Nagar and the Storia-do-Mogor by Nicolai Manucci. The Italian names are a little difficult to pronounce. If I've made a mistake, to all my Italian listeners, my humble apologies. But Niccolao Manucci recorded this. In the northeast, Lachit Borphukan's masterful leadership led to a stunning victory against the Mughals at the Battle of Sarai Ghat, a naval battle fought on the Brahmaputra river. This was a testament to the resilience of indigenous forces from Assam. Meanwhile, the Sikh Gurus played pivotal roles in this pan-Indian struggle. Guru Gobind Singh Ji's fierce battles against the Mughals showcased strategic brilliance, while Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's commitment to non-violent resistance and sacrifice resonated as a moral beacon. The ferocious rebellion of the Satnamis of the region of Haryana is also notable. They were also known as the Mundas. The Satnamis believed that if one Satnami was killed, 70 more would rise in his place to fight the Mughals. In Varanasi, the Naga Sadhus fought fiercely against the Mughal armies to protect the Kashi Vishwanath Ji temple. These uprisings, alongside numerous other local revolts, underscored that the fight against Timurid-Mughal tyranny was not confined to just one region, but was a nationwide movement for justice and freedom against foreign rule. As the decades-long struggle continued, the cumulative toll of endless battles and unyielding indigenous Indian resistance slowly destroyed the Timurid-Mughal Empire. When Aurangzeb died in 1707, he was a broken man. He actually said that when I have lost hope in myself, what hope can I have in others? The mighty Timurid-Mughal Empire, once the wealthiest and most powerful in the world, was on the brink of collapse under the relentless pressure of the Maratha resistance and other rebellions across the country. Within just a few years after Aurangzeb's death, the Maratha Empire ruled from the edges of Afghanistan down to the plains of Tamil Nadu. Many other indigenous kingdoms also emerged. The Marathas not only reclaimed their lost honor, but also laid the foundation for a new era of indigenous power and cultural renaissance. One could argue that many of the sinews of modern India were formed out of this titanic struggle against these foreign rulers. The sad news, though, is that we Indians did not learn our lessons completely. The lesson of ensuring internal unity. Because we did get rid of one bunch of foreigners, the Timurid-Mughals, but within another century, another bunch of foreigners, the British, were ruling us. They used our internal divisions against us. They recruited our own people to join their army and conquer India for them. Ghar ka bhedi, Lanka dhai. That's why I believe that we must always keep reminding ourselves of these stories. Celebrate the tales of our ancestors who fought against foreigners like Aurangzeb, ancestors like the brave Marathas, the fierce Ahoms, the courageous Jats, the wise Sikh Gurus, the valiant Satnamis. We must know of their struggles against tyrants like Aurangzeb so that we can draw inspiration, but more importantly, also learn the lessons that we must always be united. Otherwise, foreigners will conquer and oppress us. Lastly, I think that we should not celebrate foreign invaders and tyrants in our own country. No normal country anywhere in the world does that. For example, France does not celebrate the Nazis who conquered them during the Second World War, and Israel does not name places in their country after Hitler. Then why do we have places named after Aurangzeb in India? I think that every single place, be it city, locality, road or anything else that is named after Aurangzeb should be renamed after indigenous people who fought him. It can be Maratha emperors or Sikh Gurus or Ahom generals or Jat kings or the Satnamis or the Naga Sadhus or anyone else who fought that foreign tyrant. And we should focus on karma, on deeds rather than birth. So we could also replace Aurangzeb's name in some of these places with that of his brother Dara Shikoh. We don't have a problem with the Timurid-Mughal dynasty. We have a problem with oppressors like Aurangzeb. So why should we not celebrate someone positive like Prince Dara Shikoh? Prince Dara tried to find a common ground between Hinduism and Islam through his brilliant treatise Majma-ul-Bahrain, the mingling of the two oceans. Aurangzeb tortured and killed Dara Shikoh and tried to wipe out his name. It would be poetic and just to replace place names of Aurangzeb with Dara Shikoh. The replacement names can be discussed and suggestions given to our government. But all the places named after Aurangzeb in India must be renamed. At least that's what I think. What do you think? Comment below. And if you like this episode, hit like and subscribe below. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep the flame of freedom burning bright. Namaste, Jai Hind. If you enjoyed this episode, like and share it, please. And if you want to receive the notification for the next episode, click subscribe, please. Thank you.